On a frigid December night in Norway, a desolate highway stretched like a narrow ribbon through a dense, snow-cloaked forest. Jagged mountain ranges loomed ominously in the distant background, their dark silhouettes adding to the aura of foreboding that enveloped the landscape. Travelers, eager to reach their holiday destinations, found themselves ensnared victims of a multi-car collision caused by treacherous, ice-slicked conditions. The wreckage blocked the entire roadway, leaving them trapped in a seemingly endless traffic jam. But their dire situation took a sinister turn as a sudden, freakishly intense snowstorm materialized out of nowhere, descending upon the area like an otherworldly force of nature. In a matter of moments, the world outside was buried under an astonishing 2 feet of snow, turning their predicament into a chilling nightmare. Unbeknownst to them, as they shivered in their cars, mysterious and otherworldly events were unfolding, blurring the lines between reality and the supernatural. Anna, the driver of one of the cars, frantically attempted to secure a cell phone signal. They were en route to a mountain ski resort to meet her husband, and glancing at her cell phone, she noticed they were already several hours behind schedule. In the back seat, Tim, her 5-year-old son, slumbered soundly, while beside him, Ella, Anna's college friend, accompanying her for the weekend getaway, had also drifted off to sleep. Suddenly, the back passenger door swung open, and an icy chill rushed in, seizing them in its frigid grip. A shadowy figure cloaked in darkness moved with uncanny swiftness, extracting Tim from the car in a matter of seconds. A feat so puzzling that it took a few moments for the shocking reality to sink in. Anna sat there, stunned, while Ella remained sound asleep in the back seat, oblivious to the unfolding horror. Anna, with trembling hands, clumsily opened her car door, pushing back on the piled snow on the other side of her car door. Giving chase, her progress hindered by the knee-high snow, she shouted at the dark hooded figure holding her son with a desperate plea, "Give me back my son!" But soon, she lost sight of them in the swirling flurry of snow. The kidnapper's uncanny ability to traverse the knee-high snow so quickly was an unbelievable feat. As Anna desperately scoured the area for her son, massive silhouettes emerged from the evening shadows. A grotesque horde of trolls, varying in size, manifested amidst the trees, with some towering at an astonishing 15 feet. They jostled, shoved, and engaged in violent brawls, occasionally bludgeoning each other with rocks and clubs, their deranged laughter and vile curses polluting the air. Their revelry spilled over into the traffic jam of cars ensnared by the relentless snow, resulting in the mangled wreckage of vehicles and the grisly fate of their occupants inside. Amidst the cacophony, a car's incessant horn blared, infuriating the trolls further, prompting them to unleash an unrelenting fury, mercilessly stomping on the vehicle until the noise ceased. In some instances, blood oozed from the contorted, mangled metal shapes, and agonizing screams resonated from the surrounding cars. The tormenting wails multiplied as the trapped occupants bore witness to the monstrous forms and the nightmarish, surreal acts unfolding before their eyes. The trolls abruptly halted their revelry, dropping to their knees, fixating their attention on the terrified individuals trapped within the vehicles. The expressions of fear, the anguished screams, and the frantic struggles of those inside only served to further fuel the trolls' primal instincts. The scent of blood wafting through the air stirred a savage hunger within their minds. With a gleam in their eyes, they scanned and marveled at the procession of cars ensnared by the snow, their fascination growing as they contemplated the helpless victims before them. As if they were participants in a sinister track and field race, poised on the starting line with a gunshot echoing in their twisted minds, the trolls sprang into action in eerie unison. They sprinted towards the nearest vehicle, tearing off car roofs as if opening sardine cans, and methodically plucking the screaming passengers from within. With a perverse sense of delight, they savoured the scent of their terrified victims. The unfortunate travellers were helpless prey, utterly incapable of mounting any defence against these monstrous aggressors. Some fortunate, quick-witted passengers managed to flee into the woods, their panicked footsteps trudging through the eerie, snowy darkness. A few, however, remained ensnared within the confines of their cars, and others, occupied in trivial activity and entertaining themselves, believing rescue would be at hand, oblivious to the horrifying events unfolding outside, their fates inexorably sealed. Meanwhile, Anna followed the snowprints of the hooded figure, a trail leading her toward a foreboding and cavernous opening within the mountain. She paused momentarily, gazing into the imposing darkness ahead, contemplating her next move and summoning the courage to venture further into the unknown. Suddenly, a hand pressed firmly on her shoulder, jolting her with fright. Startled, she turned around and, to her relief, found her friend Ella stumbling beside her. "There's a massacre happening out there. People are being torn apart and devoured like Thanksgiving dinner," Ella exclaimed, her voice trembling with fear. Anna, in a whirlwind of grief, despair, and rage coursing through her, resolved that she was determined to find her son and had no intention of leaving without him. She reassured her friend and herself, her determination unwavering. Fortunately, Ella produced a flashlight from her bag, and together the duo ventured deeper into the cavern, shrouded in darkness and an unsettling silence that stretched on into seemingly endless passageways. Gradually, eerie, ancient music, reminiscent of old folk melodies, began to seep into their consciousness, its haunting notes echoing through the cave's chambers. Occasionally, eerie grunts and evil laughter punctuated the eerie score, sending shivers down their spines. With trepidation, they pressed forward, all the while assaulted by the foul stench emanating from the cave's depths. The passageway branched into multiple routes, but they followed the eerie music, desperately hoping it would lead them to Tim. A sense of relentless pursuit washed over them, beginning with a looming shadow, followed by eerie, ominous sounds, and then a spine-chilling cackle that sent shivers down their spines. And then, without warning, a monstrous witch hag, towering at an imposing 9 feet tall, materialized behind them. Clad in tattered rags that emanated a putrid stench, the hag seized Ella's shoulders in a vice-like grip, her threatening presence looming ominously over the terrified duo.
"Mighty bold of you to sneak into a troll's lair. You will never leave this place alive,"
the hag hissed, her grip tightening, her laughter hideous as it echoed throughout the cavern. Ella screamed and struggled to break free. In a twist of events, a massive boulder, gripped by root-like hands emerging from the darkness, came crashing down on the head of the troll hag, forcefully detaching the witch hag's head, which hit the floor with a sickening thud, unleashing a bone-chilling scream. The hag's body abruptly released Ella, freezing in place as if awaiting a command from its severed head. The disembodied head, with its eyes wide open, struggled to regain its sense of direction. It contorted its features into a malevolent, scornful expression, making biting gestures toward Anna, while unleashing a barrage of horrifying obscenities in her direction. With every ounce of her strength, Anna kicked the troll hag's ghastly head into the dark abyss beyond, a cacophony of eerie bangs and echoing sounds accompanying its descent in the darkness. For a moment, the troll's body froze in place before it swiftly animated, giving chase to its own screaming head as they both vanished into the engulfing darkness. Emerging from the shadows, a 6-foot-tall creature materialized, its form an eerie fusion of intertwined roots, shaped in a humanoid manner, adorned with tufts of grass upon its head and shoulders. It introduced itself as a root warden, revealing that they were beings crafted by the very same troll witch hag whom they encountered. These creatures were designed to serve as guardians and loyal servants to the trolls. However, this root warden had managed to break free from the magical binding imposed upon it by the hag, a feat that had made him the target of her relentless pursuit for some time. Anna explained her desperate mission to find her child, and in response, the root warden guided them towards a hidden entrance in a cavernous wall. The same haunting music they had heard earlier resonated within. With a sense of urgency, the root warden took his leave, cautioning them not to linger in one place for too long, as there were lurking spies everywhere, their presence a constant threat. Anna and Ella ventured inside the narrow opening that led to an unused, neglected balcony unknown to the trolls. Huddled in the shadows, they both gazed upon this magnificent hall. They couldn't help but feel awe-inspired by the sheer scale and beauty of its design, wondering about the secrets it might hold within its walls. The hall's design was a marvel to behold, with graceful arches and delicate carvings adorning its walls. Pillars adorned with intricate, intertwined vines, made of stone, rose majestically from the floor to support the vaulted ceiling, which seemed to stretch impossibly high above. Elaborate patterns inlaid with shimmering gemstones adorned the marble floors, creating a mosaic that depicted scenes from elven folklore. In the centre of this grand hall, a colossal fireplace stood as the focal point. Its size and design were so grand and intricate that it appeared as if it were crafted by magic. The flames within danced with vibrant colours, casting an otherworldly glow that illuminated the entire chamber. The assembled guests, trolls of various grotesque forms, were seated along the elongated tables that ran the length of the grand hall. Their hulking figures, draped in tattered and mismatched garments, seemed like nightmarish apparitions against the backdrop of the elven hall's intricate beauty. The ominous aura of the event hung heavily in the air. Among the trolls assembled in the hall, a motley array of grotesque figures took their places, each adorned with peculiar and unsettling features. However, it was Einar and Princess Ingrid who commanded the spotlight, positioned themselves front and centre as the undisputed focal point of the banquet. The humanoid troll consort, Einar, distinguished himself from the others with an air of organised dignity and undeniable presence. Unlike his troll counterparts, Einar bore a semblance of humanity, although his sharp, predatory yellow eyes served as a stark reminder of his true nature. His commanding presence made it impossible for anyone in the hall to look away, drawing all eyes towards him as the central figure of this bizarre gathering. Seated next to Einar was Princess Ingrid, the daughter of the slumbering Mountain King, a stunning human beauty with long, braided blonde hair cascading down her back. What set her apart from Anna and Ella's expectations was a distinctive feature: a cow's tail that swayed elegantly behind her, hinting at her troll heritage. Grom, a colossal troll, commanded attention as it strode through the crowd, hinting at its leadership role. Its grey, leathery skin, massive frame, and dark, furrowed brows gave it a formidable presence. Its eyes gleamed with authority beneath prominent, upward-jutting yellow tusks. A tangled, mossy beard adorned its chin, and a mane of dark hair flowed down its back. Grom's simple circular belly plate spoke of readiness for battle, and it settled near the consort and princess, too large for any table. Lastly, to Anna and Ella's utter shock, the same troll witch hag they had encountered earlier made a grand, horrifying entrance, this time bearing her detached head in her arms. Her body was swathed in tattered rags, and her foul scent hung in the air, reminiscent of rotting corpses. Her unnerving olfactory senses and formidable sent shivers down the spines of all who beheld her, including even the most fearsome troll. She settled herself close to Grom and reattached her head before taking her seat, casting a ghastly presence over the gathering. In the dimly lit cavern, a sense of eerie anticipation and dread hung heavy in the air as the root wardens and Nisa servants meticulously prepared the dining table. The root wardens, assigned the role of servers for the banquet, moved with an almost ethereal grace, arranging each place, setting with gleaming silverware, and plates intricately carved from dark stone. Meanwhile, the nicer servants, gnome-like creatures of diminutive stature, scurried about, setting out exotic dishes filled with peculiar, shimmering concoctions. These dishes exuded a faint, tantalizing aroma that permeated the atmosphere, simultaneously enticing and foreboding. An undercurrent of tension pervaded the room as the audience waited for the banquet to commence. The mixture of excitement, hunger, and the knowledge of the impending feast created a visible sense of unease. It was a banquet unlike any other, where the line between celebration and horror blurred into a nightmarish tapestry. Anticipating the main course, Gorm the giant troll clapped its hands in delight. "Bring in the plump and juicy ones," he exclaimed, his sinister joy evident. A line of people, disheveled, cold, and utterly terrified, were escorted into the hall. These unfortunate souls were the same individuals from the traffic jam outside, and their faces bore the marks of their horrifying ordeal. Trembling and wide-eyed, they hesitated before taking their seats at the unnaturally adorned table, their dread obvious in the air. The consort, Einar, extended a chilling invitation, urging the captives to partake in the grotesque banquet. His words were laced with false hospitality as he tried to reassure them. "Please go on and eat. You are my special guest tonight. I know you are hungry after that horrifying ordeal outside," he coaxed, a deceptive smile playing on his lips. "Those creatures outside are not civilized. We will not harm you here." Despite the consort's assurances, fear and caution hung heavily in the room. Some of the guests hesitated, their hands trembling as they picked up silverware, while others refused to eat altogether, their terror visible. Ominous female trolls, their menacing presence sending shivers down spines, stalked the dining areas, checking on those who dared to resist. With cruel efficiency, they jabbed sharp forks into the backs of those who refused, a cruel and painful reminder of their dire circumstances. The troll audience laughed and giggled at the terror they inspired, further unsettling the hapless guests. As the meal progressed, and the human guests reluctantly consumed the mysterious dishes before them, a profound and chilling transformation occurred. Suddenly, people began to convulse and jerk, their faces twisted in agony. Silverware clattered to the ground, and chairs were overturned as something unnatural overcame them. In an instant, they underwent a nightmarish metamorphosis, transforming into a menagerie of animals, cows, sheep, goats, and pigs of immense size. The cavernous hall resounded with the discordant cries and bleats of these grotesque creatures, their humanity stolen in a macabre twist of fate. The crowd cheered and clapped with excitement. Female trolls, trollkjerring, moved swiftly to seize the transformed guests, carrying sharp, gleaming carving knives. They led the bewildered and agonized animals away, heading towards the ominous kitchen where the dreadful fate of the captives awaited them. Anna and Ella, stunned and horrified witnesses to this gruesome spectacle, could only watch in morbid fascination. Their thoughts raced as they contemplated the grim possibilities of their own fates in the clutches of these monstrous trolls, trapped in a nightmare beyond imagination. To their dismay, fresh arrival of captured humans were brought in, their faces etched with terror and confusion. The host called for entertainment, and the royal troll children, dressed in fine clothes, entered the hall with smiles and giggles, their anticipation unsettling. The trolls' joviality and sadistic glee were chilling as the children, grotesquely, were almost similar in size to an average human adult, shouted in unison, "Shall we play a game?" The crowd clapped and cheered with delight. With a macabre enthusiasm, the troll children selected one person from the hapless group. Two children bickered over their chosen plaything, each grabbing an arm. Their tugs and pulls were cruel, pulling with brutal force until the man's arm snapped, violently wrenched from its socket. The man's agonized screams pierced the air, and the trolls erupted into laughter and frenzy. A grotesque spectacle followed as the detached arm was flung into the crowd, where an eager crowd jumped in unison to grab the prize. One ravenous lucky troll was able to snatch it quickly, devouring the whole thing, relishing the gruesome meal. The hall resonated with the collective laughter and excitement, their revelry at the expense of innocent lives, both surreal and horrifying. As if the sadistic display were not enough, an adolescent female troll took center stage, her stern expression belying the brutality to come. She singled out a woman from the unfortunate human crowd, already reeling from the first assault. The woman was dragged and made to kneel before her. Anna and Ella, hearts pounding and eyes filled with tears, could bear the torment no longer. They retreated against the adjacent wall, trembling and horrified by the nightmarish scene they had witnessed. Desperation drove them to search for a means of escape, and in their frantic attempts, they stumbled upon an unexpected discovery. Unintentionally, their trembling hands uncovered a concealed passageway, causing them to tumble backwards into a dazzling, glittering treasure room. Ella opened her eyes. She found herself lying on a hoard of gold. Her excitement could not be contained. She felt an object protruding behind her back, something cold and precious, she figured. She reached out, her fingers landed on an object that immediately drew her attention, an ornate golden horn adorned with runic symbols. Something about it vaguely familiar struck her mind. Ella carefully stashed the artifact in her purse, alongside a handful of gold coins for good measure. Anna, still consumed by grief and the urgency of finding her lost child, could not fathom the treasure in a time like this. She implored Ella to focus on their primary objective, to locate and rescue her son. "Sorry, Anna, it's not every day we come across a jackpot like this. It's like we won the lottery, but better," exclaimed Ella. As Anna and Ella cautiously ventured into the next dimly lit chamber, they stepped into what seemed to be a long-forgotten and grim prison. Cobwebs hung like shrouds, adding to the oppressive atmosphere. The eerie expanse was lined with cages, each holding the skeletal remains of unfortunate beings, their once proud armor now corroded and decaying. Dwarves, elves, and even human kings, all long abandoned and lost to time, bore silent witness to the unspeakable horrors concealed within the depths of this troll realm. A sense of foreboding filled the air, and Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something unsettling was lurking in the shadows. She could hear faint movements, a disconcerting whisper of life in a place steeped in death. Ella, her flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness, confirmed their suspicions. There was indeed movement, a sinister presence lurking just beyond the reach of their feeble light. From the depths of the darkness, a figure emerged, a hooded, sinister, and enigmatic presence that sent shivers down their spines. This mysterious entity moved with an unsettling grace, and his dark red eyes gleamed in the darkness with an unknown intent as he lowered his cloak, revealing glistening dark grey skin, long white hair, and pointed ears. Introducing himself as Eneki, the dark elf proclaimed, "I can help you find your child."